Hi lovely. So today we're talking fireplaces and the like. Now I ordered two things from my one of my suppliers. So this is from Doll's House Emporium, and it's quite a lot more detailed. And I decided, I have just started putting in some wood filler in some little places, and I suddenly thought, oh, I haven't done you a video. So anyway, there are bits that are going to be sanded and fettled, but I don't want all straight lines in my house, and I'm not really competent at making big curvy things, and I just quite liked the classic lines of this. So yes, it's not perfect. The bit at the back, which would be where your fire goes, isn't central, but it's going to be sideways on in the house. This is going to be in the living room in my townhouse. So it's going to get zhuzhed up by me. I'm going to paint this sort of stone effect and make a basket in here for logs and stuff. So we have log fires in my townhouse, not coal fires, because I prefer log fires. So this bit came with it somehow, like that. I don't like that. I think that's a bit, I don't like it. So I might find a fire guard to go around. I don't know. I'm going to paint these brass. And anyway, I think we'll manage without that. This is what I got for the bedroom, which I did want it a bit simpler. And you can either get this, I thought I was getting, sorry, very noisy unwrapping. I thought I was getting the bare wood one, but actually it seems like I've got the one with it's supposed to be oak finish, but it's really nicely finished. I'm really pleased with this. It's super sleek, super elegant, very simple, which is what I wanted. So I'm going to make a chimney breast for both of these. This one is the living room, this one is the bedroom. I'm going to make a chimney breast for both. I will do a recess here and make a basket again for logs. But the time of the year of the house currently, well, most of the time it's going to be in summer. It's not going to be in winter. I don't decorate for Christmas or anything like that. So I can have this, you know, not currently used kind of fire, but all ready to go. But I really like this with this wood finish. I just think that's really nice. I'm really pleased with that. So that's going to be a very simple do once I have made the chimney breast, and I have cut out a sheet of, I use lining paper, wallpaper lining paper. So this is the wall, this is the window that's out. Then I've worked out where the chimney breast is going to go. So I'll make the chimney breast, stick it all onto this, and then I can wallpaper it here on my desk and then fit the whole thing into the house afterwards. So to work out the depth, the height of the chimney breast, I have put in this flooring, sheet of flooring I've made. It's not sanded or stained yet. It's too wet to go outside to sand that. And I've got my paper template. I've also got my townhouse on a Lazy Susan. So it means it does move around a bit, but it makes my life a lot easier. So I've offered in my template there, and I've marked on it which way is up. And I know I need a little bit more here. I've just cut it a little bit short there. And this is what I reckon is the height, 9.5 inches. But there's a crucial bit to add to this calculation. So I've cut a hearth, and this is 3mm wood. I've just given it one coat of Payne's grey so far. So that's going to look like slate. And then we'll make the chimney breast, and then the hearth will sit on that sort of about there-ish. But we need to know how high the chimney breast is now, accommodating the floor and the hearth, the slate hearth. So what I've done is if I bring this out and nudge, ignore my paper there, getting a bit wibbly wobbly. And that is 9.5 inches on top of the flooring, on top of the slate hearth. So I know I need to cut lengths for 9.5 inches. Ooh, put you back down again. So let's take this out. So using the lines on my cutting board together with the lines of the paper, because this is the straight edge of my wallpaper lining paper, and I can get my line lined up here with my metal rule. So that's the very outside edge of the chimney breast. So I've got room for the curtain to hang down here. It looks like my window cutting is a little bit wonky, but that's okay. That was done a bit roughly. So this is going to be 9.5 inches. I know that. Let's just see what the paper is. Out of curiosity, the bottom line here might not be quite right. So yes, this is just over 9.5. So I need to make sure I stick it from the top down, and let's see where the chimney is going to be. I want a little bit extra on either side. So this side we'll have about there. So that's 33, that mark there. I don't want it to take over. I want this space in the corner to do something with that. So now I'm going to build my chimney breast onto here and stick it onto here. I know what I'm dealing with. Actually, that's a thought. How does this fit? Because this is the wood that I want to use. So that's, I don't really want to cut an odd amount. Oh, okay. So we're going just slightly over. So it's worth getting the wood to fit. So we're going to go with this second line. Yeah, go with the second line, and then I just need to cut 2 lengths of this. I don't have to actually trim this down because it doesn't matter. The chimney breast can be any size, can't it? It's whatever fits in most easily. So this is 1.5mm wood. It's not the thickest, but we are going to reinforce it, and it means it's easier to cut. So we need to cut out a little bit for the fireplace, for the actual hole for the fire. So what I did was I offered up the fireplace, got that lined up, then I've drawn around the hole with a pencil, and then I've done a boulder mark just a little way, just to sort of like to make it a bit bigger. So that is going to be the hole into the chimney space. We don't want it too enormous. So now with my rule and my craft knife, I'm going to cut this out. And remember to go across the grain first, because we don't want this to split up when we cut that one. So cut across the grain first and then down. So we're going to cut out the larger space. I'm going to stand up for this because it's easier to get good pressure standing up, because I want a nice clean cut. So that's that way, and I'm going to go, so I'll just do that little top bit first, because it's sort of telling it where I want it to break, like doing a fire break. That's because I'm cack-handed. It's the line's gone a bit squiffy, but it doesn't matter too much. It's okay. Just make sure that is nice and cut in the corner. There we go. I'll do the same. Oh, you see it's split there just a tad. So but that will be glue. I'm going to glue up here and reinforce it, so I will make sure I glue that bit as well. So I'll do the same with this piece. I do quite like to glue as I go and construct as I go. Yes, I don't always get it perfect, and sometimes I have to rethink things, but I do find it helps my thinking process. My brain doesn't work for the planning everything all out beforehand. It does for some people, it doesn't for my brain. I sort of, yeah, work it out as I go along. And sometimes it's perfect, sometimes it isn't. But that's okay, we'll just find a way around what's happening. So that's, just rest that on my pencil. I don't want it gluey all over my board. Just want a bit of glue in there. And I say we are going to be reinforcing this, so that will all be fine. Make sure you've put away the bits you don't need, so you don't end up gluing together bits that you don't need with bits that you do need. So get those lined up. I say this is going to be reinforced, so that's okay. I'll leave it that side down for now. And I think what I'm going to do, I will just put a bit of masking tape over that, just to help keep that stuck together a bit. So let's show you what I'm going to do next. You can either use your wood stock, or I'm going to use some of my floorboard stock because I have got masses of them. So they've all got nice straight edges and I can double up. So let's show you what my plan is, and we'll see if it works. It may work, it may well not work. That's okay, we'll go with it. So I'm going to strip off the tape off the back. It's about making good use of what you have, and don't buy these specially for this job. I say I have them, I bought more boards than I needed, so I have a surplus of these, so I'm going to stick them together, which might be easier said than done. I wonder if I go sideways on. They're very sticky. If I go sideways on, is that going to help? This is what you could do with more fingers. I don't think I can worry too much if they are a match top and bottom. Okay. Oh, no, don't like that. That's better. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some lengths. I want, actually I could have cut them first and then glued them together in smaller pieces. That's an interesting thought, isn't it? So I want bits to go up the side and then across. So let's do the across bit first. I'll use my favourite tool, which is my guillotine, and we'll just get a nice straight edge on the end here. And I'm going to do this size. So inside a chimney breast there is always a ledge, and if you've watched films of old you will see it's often the woman of the house reaches up inside the fireplace, and up there on this ledge, that's where she keeps the money, the housekeeping, in a tin on this ledge. So you've got to have a ledge in there. So we will be putting the ledge in there, and then we want lengths going up here. So I want these to be, my thingy's in the way over there. Let's use the cut edge at the bottom. So these are going to go up the side. So one up there. So let's have another two out, and I will stick them together. Let's just move the glue out the way because that's a bit hazardous there. Oh, I've got a little teeny weeny money spider hanging from my phone. You go over there, mate. And you can do this with a ruler if you wish. The rebel in me likes to just do it by eye. So that's the bit I don't want. That's the bit I do want. That's the bit I do want. That's the bit I don't want. So these two should be the same length, yes. Right, let's take the backing off. These will be a much more manageable to deal with. So I have got some wood which I was going to use, which actually I bought from the model shop, which aren't obese, they are more, they're probably just lengths of pine, which I was going to use those, which would be absolutely fine to use if that's what I wanted to do. But I thought actually I could do with something a bit more plank-like. So I'm going to cut that off there. I'll show you around my studio in a minute. I've had a good move around in here and it's lovely, absolutely lovely. It really freshens up the energy of a place. We just need to check that's in depth. So if that's going to go there. There, so that is giving that extra durability on that seam. Now I'm going to glue this in place here, this ledge. Where's my glue? Choose the smoothest side. Because I really wanted a ledge here, not just a piece of wood to brace it, because I could have used one of the other bits that I talked about. This isn't going to be sanded or anything, it's going to be papered. So it doesn't matter too much if there is glue anywhere. Actually, the inside isn't going to be papered, but... And then we will have these, again, flattest side. And it's still cold here. Stormy, stormy weather. We just seem to be named storm after named storm. They just keep coming at us at the moment. So I want the flattest end at the bottom. Oh, could have put glue on there, couldn't I? Let's just go in there with a bit of glue on the end. It's all right, happy with that. Check that this is the right bit before I start gluing. Put a bit of glue on the end there. It's very easy to think of this as being, you know, structure, but remember it's not carrying any weight. We just want it to give the room shape as the fireplace. Marvellous. Even better because I've used up something that I've already got rather than cutting into new wood stock. Because at the moment I'm finding the things that I want to order are out of stock, so I don't want to put an order in for just a couple of bits when I'm actually waiting for other things to be available. So just giving that a little nudge up there. So now what I want to do is to make the sides. So this is going to be, imagine it's wallpapered. It's going to be like that on its half. We just want it to stick out from the side of the room. So this does mean cutting into woodstock. How deep do I want it? I don't actually want it terribly deep. So this feels like 2.5. So let's go with a narrower strip here. Let's just put the guillotine away. Don't need that at the moment. Don't need that at the moment. So my space has changed completely. My working table is a lot smaller, and that's fine, but it does give me more space at the side for other things. Now, we know it was 9.5 inches plus, where's my hearth? There's my hearth. These outside edges are going to be on either side of the hearth. I know there's a little tiny gap there missing. Well, we're going to have skirting as well, so that'll cover that. Don't worry about that too much. But I want to gain the 3 centimetres for the depth of the hearth. There, so it's 9.5. I'll measure my 9.5 first, plus, I've got 3 centimetres, 3 millimetres, which is like, oh, for goodness sake, 3 millimetres. I can't measure those little itsy bitsy things. 1, 2, 3. So that's 9.5 inches plus 3 centimetres. 1, 2, 3. And if you're laughing at me, just you wait till your eyes get a little bit older and tireder and you're wearing varifocals. I'm going to move that out of the way a second, and I'm actually going to use my more sort of like a Stanley knife, and I'm standing up to cut this. So I'm going to cut it across the grain first. Get a light score, so then the blade doesn't jump out. So this is 2.5 millimetres. The main part of the fireplace is 1.5. Just snagging a little bit there. So what I tend to do is make sure it's cut through on both ends. Because it's like so nearly through. But you don't want to bend it. Don't try and bend it too. Oops, gone askew. Susie Lou. See? It jumps out sometimes. That might go, oh, blimey. It's really, once it's lost its track from where you want to go, it's very easy to, there you go. Okay, put this away straight away because that's the spare bit. And then this bit, so how wide am I going to have it? I always think of an easy measurement. So let's have 2 centimetres. That will be more than enough. Actually, we'll go 1.5, I think. 1.5. 1.5, and I would do it as separate measurements and cutting, because remember you lose a bit on your cutting line. So I'm just having a little think. Yes, 1.5. And this is always easier to cut going with the grain. you hear it? Just cutting through the last fibres. Right, so 1.5, and we want a 1.5 again. Now I suppose I could have used more of these planks. What are they? They're just under, but I didn't want to do that because the sticky on the back sometimes overhangs a bit, and I just thought it could all get a bit messy. So we'll stick with doing the proper cutting for this. Ooh. Pressed against the ruler then. Lovely. Right, so that goes away. For a messy person, there are some things I like to do to just try and stay a bit organised and not too chaotic. And I've got to get used to being in a smaller work desk here. But what it means is I've got, oh come on, I stood it on its bottom instead of keeping it laying down, and it's, there we go. I don't need masses, I just want a bit more. I'm going to order some Gorilla Glue next. So in fact, I've put glue down right over the end, and I don't need to put it over the end, so there's less glue on that end, so I'll take that off there. So this, we want it gluey from the top. Oh, do you see my error? It's actually short. The rat. I thought I did 9.5. I seem to have gone shorter rather than longer. Okay. Okay, I'll have to stick another little bit. I'll show you what I do when I come to doing the papering. I'll show you what I do to fudge it. That's the only word for it, really, is to fix it. There we are, you see, measure twice, cut once. So it looks like I took off somehow the 3mm instead of adding it on. Hey ho. So I want those up to the edge. So this is all going to be papered over. It's actually going to be papered over with lining paper and with wallpaper, but I still want it as smooth as it can be. So for my glue thing here, my glue mat, I'm using offcuts of the lining paper from when I did the wallpaper templates. Right, that's just going to have to sit and wait for a bit. And anything else to do at that point? So what I'm going to do, let's tell you what I'm going to do. Move that out of the way. So when you're looking at the fireplace, what I'm going to do is make a recess. Well, we've got the recess in here, haven't we? We've got the recess, so I'm going to put some paper in, painted paper, to look like bricks. So that will give me my recess for the fire. I know it's not huge, the recess. That's okay. I don't want it to be huge. I want quite a slimline, discreet fireplace, because otherwise it takes up half the room. And I've got other things to do with the room. So we'll leave that to dry. And I'll do some other things. I'm doing a quick little extra something. I wonder if you can guess what it is. So I have cut a little tiny length of batten. So I bought this wood, I think it's pine, from my local DIY store, right sort of in the early days when I was setting everything up again. But it's always useful to have something like that. And then I've got a little tiny, this is the top of a, there's one that's open, one of these paper fasteners. They are useful for a multitude of things. And I'm just going to do a very, very quick paint job. It's going to have to be over a couple of sessions, and you will see why in a minute. Partly because I don't want it to look all pristine and shiny bright. So can you guess what it is? I wonder. And if you've watched the film with Daniel Day-Lewis called My Left Foot, when Brenda Blethyn was his mum, she illustrates it perfectly, as do lots of other films. Dirty water, I know, hasn't been ditched yet. And I don't want any of this to look too perfect, but I have a little design plan. Let's just squirt a bit of that out, actually. It's easier than trying to stick my brush up. I don't know if they had tubular biscuit tins and things like that in those days. Maybe it was tobacco tin. I don't know. I've got to make a tin now, haven't I, for up the fireplace to put on that little ledge, because I like putting things in that aren't immediately apparent. Those sort of little secret things, and I don't want this to be an obvious pattern or anything, and it's all going to be a bit smoky, damaged. Can just imagine seeing that tin and thinking, oh, that will be perfect for using as my secret tin. I would have used some square wood, but it was smaller. So I'll let that dry, and then it's wobbled over, and then I will go over with some black to soot it up a bit. That's why tweezers are so useful. And then I will stick that on top, so that's the lid, and I will show you that before I put it in the fireplace. I might need to stick it in there because otherwise it's going to be really annoying if it keeps falling down every time I move the house around. There we are. I've stuck the lining paper onto the chimney breast, and I put various clamps and mini bulldog clips and stuff like that to hold it in place. So while that's drying, I have drawn on a piece of lining paper. So this is going to go behind the hole, if you like, of the chimney breast of the fireplace. And I've got some paints. I'm going to go and make a cuppa, then I'm going to come back out and do up some mixing of paint and paint these like bricks. But they're going to have to be sooted up bricks, but they'll start being bricks to begin with, and then I'll add the layer of soot afterwards. And this is my little tin that is going to go. I'm going to stick it on there. Ooh, I can't. On there. But this needs sooting up as well. So it's just sort of a bit of a red and gold pattern. Actually, I might do a bit more of a pattern on that before I soot it up. Don't know. I'll put on some fake writing, I think, some scribble, and then I'll soot it up. But I've just glued its lid on, and then that's ready. But first, kettle. So our little can to go on the shelf at the back of the fireplace, I have written on it tea, because it seemed logical to me that if she was going to have anything up on that shelf, it would be a tea tin. And so I've written on it in black pen, one of my artist pens, and I've just done some black squiggle on the back, which is now rubbed off on my fingers. So it's a bit sort of red and gold with black printing dye. I need to mucky that up a bit, soot it up. And I've done another coat on the slate hearth, and I've done the second coat, well, I've done both coats with Payne's Grey acrylic paint, and Payne's Grey has a bit of a bluey tinge to it. When you wash the brushes, it comes out as blue. So it's a bluey grey, which is very indicative of slate. So I think that's more pleasing grey-wise, and I can just see a little tiny gap in some wood there where it hasn't quite taken, where it doesn't quite go in to the grain. You just see a little bit. Ooh. Sometimes you start something and then you go off on a tangent. Anyway, I'll let this dry, and then I'll go over that probably with the Liquitex varnish that I've used before, because I got it, just to give that a bit of a sheen. That would be nice. You'll not see a lot of it under the fireplace, but I'm pleased with that. And I've done the backing brickwork for the fireplace. So where is the hearth? So it's going to be somewhere behind there. Oops, sorry, off camera. Somewhere behind there. So what I need to do is soot it up a bit. And I was thinking, how am I going to do this? And I think what I might do is I'm going to use some charcoal, because I have some charcoal. I'm really not into charcoal at all, but I have it from before. It's so messy, but if you want something to just blacken something up a bit, bearing in mind it is cooked wood, basically, charcoal. I did charcoal burning when I lived in the Lake District, and I don't think it's going to take on the top there, but if you just want to darken something up, charcoal is great if you don't mind getting grubby fingers. And I know I'm messy, but I don't like getting this messy generally. So I think I'm going to have to, see, that's not going to stick on there. So I'm going to put a bit of, go over the top of the lid with a bit of my acrylic paint there that you can see that I was using for the bricks. But I'll go over this with some charcoal. And I don't want it to be too uniform. I just want it to be sooted up, really. You can still see the bricks through it. Oh, I'm liking this. If you're doing something like this, do it at the end of your day when you could be cleaning up afterwards. So it's just calmed down all the colour, but you can still see it's bricks. So what paints did I use? Let me tell you. I used a bit of yellow ochre, burnt umber, primary red, and that's just a brown and a dark brown and a light brown. And I just simply dabbed the brush in from one thing to the next thing. So I had multiple colours on my brush for each brick, if you like. Try and clean my fingers off a little bit. Let's get that away before it gets in a real mess everywhere. Goodness knows how many years I've had that charcoal for. It goes safely back in there. So let's see if I can just grubby up this lid a little bit. See, it's very shiny at the moment. We don't want a shiny lid, but I want a bit of the shiny to show through. Shiny to show through. That'll do. I don't mind if a bit rubs off here and there. That's good. So when that will dry, that's sort of suitably sooted. Let's just put a bit round the bottom. Actually, what we want is a bit up there as well. And I'm not saying that the person that lives in this lovely townhouse is wanting to hide things away from anybody particularly. But most people who grew up years ago, being careful what I say here, not to offend anybody, have little stashes. When we were clearing out my old mum's house, bearing in mind she got married in the war years, she died at 101, so we were clearing out her house when she'd gone into care just. So we were clearing out her house when she was 99 and a half. And we found little pots of money everywhere. And some of it was old £10 notes. You know, they weren't currency anymore. We had to take them to the bank. And all sorts of, so she had little pots in her sewing drawers, little pots in her her painting cupboard, little pots in her dressing table, all sorts of places around the house, because that's what they did. They had little stashes of money. And I confess, you won't know where they are, but I have little stashes of money here and there, because cash is king. And if you've got a bit of cash, it can get you out of a lot of trouble. Not I'm anticipating any trouble, but it, you know, it's just what people do, is have little stashes of cash here and there. So that's what my little pot behind the fireplace is all about. It's about independence, it's about personal power, it's about opportunity, a little stash of cash.